Hello everyone, this is Shrutee here. First of all, let me tell you all a very happy Halloween. Today's story is titled A Candle in the Window. What are you waiting for? Let me tell you the story. Lilly, Libby, Scarlett and George begged to finish trick-or-treating on their own street. Lilly, the green witch with spiders and a pointy hat. Libby, the vampire with scary teeth and a blood-red cape. Scarlett, the pumpkin, her face bright orange. And George, the white creepy ghost with a ripped bedsheet. Mom said yes. All the neighbors wanted to see their costumes, and most of them had plenty of treats. Just our neighbors though. I'd get the hot dogs ready, so don't be too long, Mom called, and the 4 children went off to see what their neighbors had ready for them. The last house was Mrs. Simps, and she had plenty. As they left, George looked along the end of the road. Why not try the old house at the edge of the wood? It's creepy enough for Halloween. A waste of time. Nobody even lives there. It's been empty for years. Libby shook her vampire head. Ghostly George didn't give up. But tonight I can see a light in front of the window. Maybe somebody moved in. The 4 children all looked down the road to the big dark old house just outside the little wood at the end of their road. Lilly squinted. Yes, there's a light in the window, she laughed. Okay, George, we give the new people a little Halloween welcome to our street. Why did they feel a bit nervous as they opened the door of the iron gate? The gate creaked and they almost turned back. Sure enough, there was light. A candle in the dirty jam jar in the dusty old downstairs window. Just moved in? Maybe the electricity isn't on yet. Scarlett sounded braver than she felt. The 4 trick-or-treaters stood close together at the front door. There was no bell, just a rusty old knocker covered in spider webs. Lilly knocked. The sound was hollow and scary. The face appeared at the window, a thin old lady with straggly white hair. The candle in the jar made her look a little yellow and very old. Happy Halloween! The children mumbled in voices that were no longer sure. So sure that this was a good idea. But the old lady smiled, a crooked smile, and asked, "Who are you? Tell me your names." The children were polite and told their names, wishing the old lady a happy Halloween. All they wanted to do was run, apart from the pale yellow candle at the window. All around were pitch dark. The trees in the garden looked twisted and strange, and the house even older and more broken down than it seemed from the street. "I have something for you children," the old lady spoke slowly, and the candle flickered. Lilly and Libby were holding hands tight. Scarlett and George were gripping each other's elbows. "I have so many apple trees in my garden," the old lady smiled, "but it seemed kind of twisted in the candlelight. Today I picked a basket full of the best and freshest apples." Her eyes fixed on each of the children. Her eyes looked right through them. "I hoped some children might come to visit me." The children nodded. "Thank you very much," Libby managed to squeak. In the front of the door, the old lady lifted a bony finger and pointed out of the window. "Yes, thank you. It was very kind of you." Scarlett hardly knew what she was saying. She just wanted to grab the basket and run. "We'll bring back The basket, we promise, George added, but the other three glared at him. Lily spotted the basket quite near her feet, on the stone doorstep, where they just knocked. She hadn't noticed it before. Funny, we didn't see them here before, she mumbled as she picked up the basket of apples, and the four children turned and ran for the gate. Only George turned around for a moment, and the house was dark again. The candle had gone out. Back home, Lily quickly dumped the basket of apples on the kitchen table. Then the children went to the counter of delicious smelling hot dogs. I hope you had plenty of treats. Mom smiled. Loads, Scarlett grinned. And the old lady in the big house at the end of the road gave us a basket of apples, George told her. But nobody lives there. It has been empty for years, Mom shook her head. And then they went out to the plateau to toast marshmallows on a small fire and share out their candy. The next morning, Mom called the children for breakfast. What on earth were you thinking, leaving the basket of apples on the table? Why? Lily looked hard at the basket. Those apples are rotten. Mom pointed at the basket, full of worms, and they look pretty rotten. The basket crumbles as soon as you even touch it. It's so old. But it was not like this last night, George frowned. The apples looked fresh, red and green. George stared at the basket. The apples were brown and rottily mold, with worms and maggots crawling all over, flies buzzing. They stink! Libby held her nose in the bin. Mom scooped up the basket and threw it away. How did this happen? Scarlett wondered. Last night they seemed okay. George couldn't let it go. I have to find out. You can come if you like. He walked to the end of the road. The others followed him behind. The big sign said, Keep out! Dangerous building. A man with a yellow cap, hard hat, leaned over the fence. The sign says that the walls are dangerous and unsafe. This sign has been there for weeks. And what about the old lady who lived here? George asked. Nobody lives here, little boy. The man picked up his electric saw and switched it on with a buzz. We are here to chop down all these old, bent and broken apple trees. They're dangerous and rotten too. You won't find any in this garden. George sniffed and wondered why he could smell the sweet, fruity smell of fresh apples. Did you like this ghostly story? I hope you did.